What's poppin', y'all? Welcome back to another episode of NBA Weekly. I'm your host, Peter Plug, and I am excited to announce that NBA Weekly is back. After a long year, the NBA season, we've had a lot of stuff going on, a lot of topical things that we talked about early in the season. Then I felt like we got to a point where we kind of just waiting on the playoffs, really. You know what I mean? The awards and the playoffs through the wire has been busy. We back at All-Star Weekend. We had shoots and everywhere. I've been super crazy and busy, but I'm happy. We're finally here in the playoffs, and I'm finally able to get NBA Weekly back on a consistent basis. I know y'all have missed me. I have missed y'all just as much. But here we are. And the first thing that I want to talk about, unfortunately, is about a player that I've grown to love and like over the course of the years, and I've defended on a bunch of different times and subjects throughout his career, and it's Ben Simmons. As a Ben Simmons fan, as a person who's defended Ben Simmons, like I said, and somebody who supported Ben Simmons since Mount Verde to LSU to Philly, even all the way to Brooklyn, I am truly concerned. That's the only way I can put it. I am concerned about the future of Ben Simmons as a fan. And I think it was important for me to start off highlighting the fact that I am a fan and I am a supporter. I am a person that defended him. You go on social media, you listen to a lot of different conversations that are being had about Ben Simmons. Sometimes it can feel unfair. Sometimes you could think it comes from a place of hate, whether it's a 76er fan or somebody looking for attention or clout. You know how it goes in social media. But as a person who's non-biased in this situation and actually kind of biased to the fact that I'm a fan of him, everything that I'm going to say and address and all of my worries and concerns are genuine. You can know that this is from a person with a genuine, authentic, and real perspective with real concerns and worries. No point am I trying to be funny, make any jokes in this video. Am I trying to get attention or clout? There's so many different things that I can talk about, but because I am a fan and this is a popular and big storyline and I am authentically and genuinely concerned, I was like, let's discuss it. Because I don't know how much people are looking into this. I know it's, people ridiculing Ben Simmons, being critical of him as they have been and as they should, but I'm looking to it at a deeper perspective and a little bit further because I am a genuine fan. And the first concern that I have with him is the fact that we really can now factually say that there is a mental block or some mental hurdles that he has to overcome as a basketball player that has always kind of been in question, even early in his career before the Hawks series or anything. People always question his mentality or what's going on with him mentally as a basketball player or his mental confidence just because of his lack of outside shooting. Today's age of basketball is a perimeter-centric game where everybody is invited to shoot threes. You know what I mean? I've literally seen people shoot threes who I've never thought in my lifetime I would see shooting threes. We've seen Dwight Howard make attempts, and make some and attempt some. We've seen Drummond shoot threes. I've seen DeAndre Jordan shoot threes. This is literally the time in the NBA where literally anybody can shoot threes. Like literally, if you're open, everybody is encouraged at this point, in this generation and age to just shoot the ball if you have an opportunity. And because Ben Simmons has done that, to probably out of the least, he's done it the least out of anybody in the NBA with the most opportunity. That was always something that was concerning. Talking heads, analysts would always bring up, like, is there something, mental, that's stopping him? Was there any mental blockage or hurdles that he needs to overcome to shoot the basketball? So that part, I think we can accept and understand. And mental health has been something over the last couple of years that social media and just socially, we as people have spoken up about and became more educated, more understanding, and more sensitive in understanding how serious it is and how it can affect all of us on a day-by-day basis. And I love the fact that we've progressed towards that and we've become more understanding, like I said, as people everywhere, on how important and how big mental health is, whether you're going through something, whether you're trying to keep yourself in good mental health shape. Both are just incredible conversations over the last couple of years to highlight that, because it is serious. But we know that is real now. At first, it was a conversation on, is that a thing? But because of the whole situation, because of this year, we know he's talked to therapists, he's went out and got help, and from Philly to even when he was traded, we know that that's the understanding. So that's one part of it was the mental thing, and I still think that is still a big part of it, singularly as an individual to him. And the reason I'm highlighting that first is because if that's a problem, the things that are occurring now is only going to hinder him further. Because psychologically, your confidence, how people view you, and your reputation all ties into your mental state and your current mental health situation, if we're just being honest. And based off it being pertaining to Ben Simmons, we saw that it really hit its height after the Hawks series, where that's where he was talked about the most in a negative light, and where he felt he was being thrown under the bus by teammates, some of the coaching, and it was just, all over the place. It was a messy situation, which was understanding. Now, he was traded, and it seemed to be progressive, right? We saw all the conversations on social media and just socially about change of scenery, a new place, new coworkers, how much that can help your mental state. And it seemed from afar, because I don't know Ben Simmons, and I'm not in the Brooklyn Nets locker room, I'm gonna make that clear. But from afar, it seemed that it had gotten better. We had, less talks were about it. We were informed that he was still getting help and he was progressing. These are reports that we were getting as media and as fans. And the Brooklyn Nets and him start talking about ramping up to return to basketball at some point this season, the end of the season, the playoffs, whatever. There was hope and there was clues out there to hype us up as media and fans to believe that we would see Ben Simmons at some point this season. There was a large percentage of a chance that we would see Ben Simmons at some point. And to me, that's a tricky spot right there. And I think that's a big thing on Ben Simmons, his team, and the Brooklyn Nets. I have always been and have always said that unless you're a top 5 player, MVP caliber, superstar, bona fide, anytime you've missed the entire season or majority of the season, there's no need to come back in the playoffs. Your team has got used to playing without you. There's a lack of familiarity there. You aren't in basketball shape, because anybody that's played basketball know you can run on treadmill, you can lift weights, you can do jumping jacks, you can shoot around as much as you want. Playing high-level basketball is no way to be simulated besides playing high-level basketball. So it's hard to get into that shape without playing in the actual real games and moments. And it can just be too much of a distraction, too many intertwining parts that have to come together. And like I said, chemistry issues on the floor, and it just familiarity. It's too much going on. So you're better off just sitting out the whole year, let your team figure it out, let them go, and then run it back next year. So I was never a fan of them entertaining the idea of Ben Simmons coming back just from that standpoint. But also because we know what he's going through and what's been going on, it really didn't make sense. I'll give the Brooklyn Nets some benefit of the doubt, just because, if you're down 3-0, you probably look at it in a sense of he's in a win-win or a situation where he can't really lose, because we're already down 3-0. If we lose, we were already projected to lose the series entirely because we were already down 3-0 without him. Kevin Durant was already struggling. Kyrie was struggling. We just didn't look good. So even if he does come and we lose, what do you do? But if he comes back and we win, it could be partially because of him. It could be a confidence booster, and it could, be something that could help him. I understand that part too. But the likelihood of that happening was extremely low, as we see. Because if Kevin Durant isn't giving you, the Kevin Durant that we used to, not much is going to change in that series. So I was already against it from that standpoint. But now what they've created and what they've done, and I'm claiming everybody involved, him, his team, and the Brooklyn Nets, because when I say team, I mean his agency, Clutch Sports, Rich Paul, anybody in his entourage, whatever. That's his team plus the Brooklyn Nets and then himself, because I don't know the facts of who to point to. But all of that, it's only made things worse, into my opinion. I think since the Brooklyn Nets trade with James Harden and Ben Simmons, things had died down as far as Ben Simmons. It's like, okay, the trade is done. There's no more talks. People really didn't really care. Brooklyn Nets fans were kind of distracted because they had James Harden, and Embiid is playing the MVP level. The Brooklyn Nets, a lot of the attention was on Kyrie Irving and when he was going to be available to play and the vaccine type mandate thing. Then you had the MVP conversation with Jokic, Embiid, and Giannis, and that was an award race that was exciting. The Rookie of the Year, you had Miami Heat being the number 1 seed. The Suns were above everybody. It was a lot of different conversations, storylines, and headlines that kind of overshadowed the Ben Simmons situation, and it kind of died down a lot from where it was in the offseason at the beginning of the season before he was traded. And I felt like that was a pivotal time to shut him down, move on. People are still going to talk about it when his name comes up, but there's so many other things going on. It could be buried back and be as little of a distraction as it's ever been, and we could just let him have another offseason, let him get familiar with Kyrie and KD, let him have a normal training camp, a normal offseason, let his back get 1,000% healthy. Everything is be fine. It's little, boom. Nobody's talking about it. The only way it was going to come back up is if the 76ers went out and won a championship. That would have been the worst thing that could have happened, because then the talks and the conversations would have ignited. But from all of what we've seen, I don't think Philadelphia is the favorites of anybody. Not saying that they don't have a chance or nobody picked them, but there are some other favorites out there that look to be more favored than them. So they don't do that. You hype up the people, the media. You even let Ben Simmons, again, don't know who to blame. Could be just entirely him. But he goes on Instagram. He's using eyes emojis, dribbling the basketball, hinting to a return. You have him doing press conference stuff when he's asked about how he could impact in the series and what he could do to kind of change the tides. He's talking about what he could do defensively, his IQ, all things that I think are true as a Ben Simmons fan and supporter. But still a dangerous game to play. When all of those things happen, people in the media, people online, people with fan bases, and even teammates, executives, everybody in the organization are believed that it's 100% chance that this man is going to play now. We're entertaining the idea of him being on the basketball floor. So now we fast forward. Ben Simmons is going to play in this series. Ben Simmons is going to play game 3 or 4. We're at game 3. Ben Simmons is going to play game 4. The day before the game even happens, or maybe the day of. I cannot remember, even though it was not that long ago. We're told that Ben Simmons is not going to play in that game. And what does this do? This creates another situation to put Ben Simmons in the light again of everything that I thought an organization or his team or himself would want to get away from. They're putting him in a position that goes against everything that was going to get him back into playing basketball. If mental health, anxiety, any mental hurdles, humiliation, disrespect, if any of those things really hindered him and was really a part of everything he was going through to stop him from getting on the basketball court, this past recent situation of him not playing when they were alluding that he was, is only going to make that worse, and now puts him in a deeper hole. It reignites his name. Now he's back to being a headline and a talking piece. He's back to being ridiculed. He's back to being basically embarrassed. And now his confidence, I would have to imagine as an outsider, is back going down from anything that he had built in all that time he was out. And then also, it's not just the media anymore. It's not just Philadelphia 76ers fans now. Now it's people like me who have been supporters and defended him. Now I'm looking at him strange like, bro, what was all that about if you were not going to play? And now I have to imagine as an outsider, because again, I'm not in the Brooklyn Nets locker room, I have to imagine his teammates are probably looking at the same way, like, bro, you just did all of that and you're not even going to try to play? And it just makes him look weak to his teammates, to fans. Now it's another fan base that are already tired of it. The coaching, the GM, I'm sure everybody in the organization looks at him differently. Not saying that they hate him, not saying they want him to be gone, but it's human nature. People look at him a little differently. Which, if all of those things is what was problematic and toxic for him in the Philadelphia environment, we're now starting to make it toxic in the Brooklyn environment. And I think it's only going to get worse, because I heard Stephen A. Smith bring it up. Shout out to Stephen A. Smith. When a collective bargaining agreement happens, or the conversation comes back up, let me correct myself. When they start to have those conversations again, and there's been some people that already has reported that some owners are saying and communicating and already thinking, they're ready to use the Ben Simmons situation as something that they can use to kind of change the way things have been. You know what I mean? Guys not playing as much, guys sitting out, but still earning all of their money. This is a big problem and a big situation in the overall NBA, which is really going to put Ben Simmons in a bad, tough situation because he's going to affect all 30 teams, all of the players on all 30 teams, and he's going to affect them financially, which is really going to have the entire NBA looking at you crazy and in a weird way and being hypercritical of you, because the one thing you don't want to mess up is other people's money, especially as across the league. It's one thing to not have a vibe or be in a weird battle with one organization and that fan base, your former team. It's like having a divorce. That's one thing. But imagine you go out and every woman looks at you crazy. How can you ever recover from that? It's impossible. And the owners are going to have a very good point. You know, I'm in support of the players, but I mean, yeah, Ben Simmons is one of the first players I've ever seen in my life, and I've been watching basketball for a very long time. I've never seen a player of his magnitude or his caliber. We're talking about all NBA, all defensive, second runner-up and defensive player of the year. This dude is a multi-time all-star, and he's still very young. Still very young. I've never seen a player of his magnitude sit out an entire year without a catastrophic injury, no torn ACL, no leg fracture, anything like that. This is weird times. This is a guy who's a max contract player, sat out an entire year. And then on top of all of that, while all of this was going on, he made the claim in the file to collect the $20 million that he lost from not playing with Philadelphia. So now people are questioning your character, where your mind at, your love for the game. They're looking at you as weak. All of that is going to play a factor mentally. It is going to hurt your confidence, and it's going to make it harder to get back on the court, because as we see, even before all of this, it was hard to get him on the court. Now you add all of this, it's going to be harder to get him on the court. And then my final points is that the main goal shouldn't even be to get this man on a court. That's just one part of it. That's just the first leg. The second part is to get him on a court and have him back to the player that he was before all of this happened. He still has to be an impactful player. Getting him on the court is one thing, but we don't want him to get on the court and then not be the player that we know him to be. So he has to get on the court, get back to playing at the level that we've known and have gotten accustomed to seeing him play at. And then third and lastly, we have to see him in high pressure moments. The last time we saw him in a high pressure moment was the Hawks series. We have to get him back into a place where he can play high-level basketball, because he's on the team with guys that are trying to compete and win a championship. The Brooklyn Nets, with him being the player that we've seen him be, with Kevin Durant and Kyrie and the others, or whatever they're going to do in offseason, on paper, that's still a team that has a chance. Say whatever you want. I know they just got embarrassed and swept 4-0. I understand. But if we remove all the bullshit and we just keep our basketball minds on point for a second, on paper, that team is still to be reckoned with. You know what I mean? There's no mandate for Kyrie to not play in all the games. You know what I mean? There's no James Harden that you got to worry about getting traded and all of that. This is your team. You have your pieces. Whatever moves they make in the offseason, I'm sure they'll make some good moves to enhance the roster, coaching direction, whatever. But this team is still going to line up to be a respected team next year on a competitive level. And I just don't understand what his team or the Brooklyn Nets were thinking. And it's very disappointing to see that an organization in a professional field, the lack of communication or understanding between both sides. Like, you would think that the Brooklyn Nets and him would have established a plan as soon as they acquired him, seeing everything he went through and how chaotic and problematic it became in Philadelphia. And again, the Philadelphia situation, the thing was, it was like very, very small compared to all of this that can happen potentially. You know what I mean? That was just eternal. Him and Joel, him and Doc, him and the fan base, that's like very little. Now we talk about him against the entire NBA and all of the players. Him against the media. Like, they going crazy on him. And a lot of stuff that people are saying, you can't even defend as a Ben Simmons guy, as a Ben Simmons supporter. A lot of the stuff they saying is facts. I saw Kenny the Jet Smith on TNT after one of the games talking about the crazy thing that he sees is, out of all of this, there's not been a time where Ben Simmons has done anything for anybody besides himself. Everything has been about me, 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 me. I don't want to play because I don't like what Doc said. I don't want to play for Philly because I don't like what Joel said. I don't want to play for Brooklyn right now because my back hurt. I don't feel. I want the $20 million. I want my $20 million. There's not one time in all of this, Kenny the Jet Smith said, that Ben Simmons has done anything for anybody besides himself. And that's a fact. That's a fact. As a Ben Simmons supporter, I can admit that's a fact. You know, we had Stephen A. Smith said he quit on LSU. He quit on Philly. He's not even trying for Brooklyn, and he just got there. Those are facts. I can't even argue with that as a Ben Simmons supporter. Those are facts. So now I'm at a point where I'm really concerned with how he's going to get back to being Ben Simmons. He's in such a hole right now because of all of this mess that it's like for this to get washed away, he's going to have to play at a level that I don't think we've ever seen him play, or he might not even be capable of. He has to come back and play MVP basketball for this all to be washed away. Seriously. And that's just probably not likely. So as a Ben Simmons supporter, I'm here to tell you I'm concerned about not just seeing him play, but being the Ben Simmons that I became a supporter of. It's tough. It's tough. And as of right now, I'm confused on how they're going to get him on the court. I'm not saying he'll never get on the court again, but it's deeper than him just physically playing basketball. We want to see him on the court, and we want to see him be Ben Simmons. And as of right now, I just don't know how that's going to happen. I'm definitely interested to see the offseason that the Brooklyn Nets have. There's a lot of different routes and avenues they can go to improve their team. The Steve Nash stuff, is he going to be brought back? I know some Net fans feel like he's on a hot seat. But even in that situation, I don't even know what to think of Steve Nash as a coach, because he's had to go through so much in Brooklyn. It's been just like a roller coaster ride from them. From the Kyrie thing, the first year they all came together, Kevin Durant didn't play because he was recovering from his injury. They went out and they traded all of the pieces that were kind of like, what are they going to do with Karis LeVert, Spencer, Jared Allen, all guys that are having a lot of success in other places. They traded all of that for James Harden, and now he comes back and he barely plays in the playoffs, and they all three barely play because either Kyrie is out and it's KD and Harden, and KD is out and Kyrie is out, and it was Harden by itself, and then it was Kyrie and KD, then it was Kyrie and Harden. It was just a mess. And then you come into this year, James Harden and the hamstring, Kyrie can't play every game. The Nets don't even want him around because it's going to be a distraction. Then out of nowhere, they bring him back. Kevin Durant gets hurt. Then you trade James Harden out of nowhere, where you kept saying there was no way they was going to trade James Harden. And then you trade him for Ben Simmons, who doesn't play the entire year. It's just been a lot. It's been a lot. So I'm super interested to see what direction they go in the offseason, how they get better, because at the end of the day, like I keep saying, they still have Kevin Durant, Kyrie, and Ben Simmons. And that trio, with the right surrounding pieces and the right coaching and system, could be a team to watch out for sure. So I'm definitely interested in that. But with all that said, my main point is, as a Ben Simmons fan, as a Ben Simmons supporter, I'm extremely worried, and I'm extremely concerned about his future in basketball, like legitimately. I know a lot of people going to make jokes. A lot of people going to ridicule him, talk shit. I'm fine with that. He's brought a lot of that stuff upon himself. But I am genuinely concerned about him playing basketball and again in the league. So we'll see. Appreciate y'all watching, tuning in. This is NBA Weekly. We're going to get these back going consistently. This is the playoffs. There's a lot to talk about. Maybe in the next couple days, we have some more eliminations to talk about before we get ready for round 2. As always, I appreciate you guys. I am Pee Wee the Plug. I am out. Peace.